Hello there. What's going on, everyone? Today I'm coming to you with a Legion battle report. It's Rebels versus Rebels, Pathfinders versus Pathfinders, and I'm playing Sean today, and we're just going for it. I didn't want to do any Imperial stuff. We're going to be running Breakthrough as our objective, and our deployment is going to be battle lines. So it's going to be one of those tactical things where we're trying to get into the opponent's deployment zone. Clear conditions is our battlefield effect there. We don't really have to worry about a whole lot of bad stuff. Now, Sean had the initiative at 799, and I thought for sure he was running Jin. I am not running Jin. I'll post the links in the description below. But he had first deployment, and I was pretty surprised with him going to deploy the turret first. He's running an FD turret there, and I thought for sure he was going to deploy, one of those Pathfinders or Jin first, because going first, you do have the option to put them right there in the middle. And I think what he was more concerned with overextending and putting those guys farther out. So I know a lot of times I don't include the deployment but I think since the Pathfinders have really changed the way deployment works, you can see me here. I'm mapping out a lot of this. Now I have sped up the video significantly for this battle report. So trying to get it, a full game here without quite so much craziness. So there's a lot of dull parts. So I ended up deploying my first Pathfinders right over here, kind of in the side of this piece of terrain. Parts of it are going to be a little bit blocked from where the camera is, but I figured this angle was going to give us, for the most part, one of the best shots that I could get. So I went there, and putting that FD turret was kind of bad for Sean, because this is one where you have to move and get into the end zone, and that one can't move. Now he's going to go ahead and deploy his Pathfinders up pretty far forward. Again, we're using battle lines, so the normal deployment zone is all the way on his side and all the way on my side. So Pathfinders are pretty good with this one because there's a lot of space that they can go, and I think that's why he did the turret where he did, just to really deny me the entire middle of the battlefield for my Pathfinders. Now, I'm only rocking 2 Pathfinders, and one of the reasons I put my Pathfinders on the right-hand side or closer to the bottom of the screen was to deny him that whole area to come in and flank. And then I put a Rebel Trooper unit over here to kind of block off the rest of the battlefield over in this way, or at least as much of it as I can. And well, actually, I'm indecisive, so I'm like, hey, you know what? Let me do him here instead, because he hadn't done anything else yet. I'm still measuring it out, and casual game, so it wasn't like he locked it in and it was final. So Sean then goes ahead and deploys Jin pretty far forward in closer to my deployment zone. And I'm thinking to myself here, aha, she's gonna die. But at the same point, Jin has that 1 pip that could potentially have her move in ahead of me and cause all kinds of havoc. So at this point, I'm just going to deploy lots of Rebel Troopers. He's deploying some of his Rebel Troopers. Now, I'm running 6 core units of Rebel Troopers with Z6 and frag grenades and an extra Rebel Trooper. They're just really heavily loaded Rebel Troopers, and I really like the frag grenades with Rebel Troopers just because they have no offensive surge at all. And I figured we were probably going to do Pathfinders versus Pathfinders. With them deploying so far forward, I figured, having a range 1 crit option is going to probably work, because I expected we would get into close range combat. And I know generally people tend to want to run those Rebel Troopers at long range, because that Z6 is really, really nice. But boy, it's just so much nicer having a crit, a surge to crit, because now all of a sudden they also work against vehicles this way too, and it's just kind of all purpose with them. I mean, Z6 is really good on snow troopers also, but and here I'm going with a generic commander, putting him over on this side of the board a little bit more. And that's about it. We're taking our time. This deployment went really slow, and I have it sped up really fast right now. But as you can see, I think a lot more of the action is going to be taking place closer to the top of your screen, over there by where his Jin is, and the bottom of the screen is going to end up being a little bit less of the battle. But and he deploys his snipers over here, and that's just the strike team, and they do have a pretty good amount of open area. I have a lot of terrain on the board, but it's not too much of it is really tall or totally blocking. These particular pieces of terrain that I had made. I did a lot of these in my Hoth series, but basically they're just taller than a normal Trooper Mini. But certain other things that are a little bit taller than we expected, because I made these before the game even came out. Certain things that were even that have come out and are taller can shoot over those. And one of the things that I learned during this game is that FD turret is actually taller than those pieces of terrain, so it can actually shoot over top of some of those pieces of terrain. Now, funny thing here is I deploy my AT-RT on top of this piece of terrain. It does have a little bit of overhang, but it sits comfortably, and we both agreed that that was all right. And I feel like with the new rules talking about overhang, I don't think there should really be a problem with that. But I wasn't 100% sure if that rule, at the time of the recording this, I don't have the rules reference open all the time, especially for friendly games, so I wasn't sure if that rule was only for repulsor vehicles or if it was for, for everything else, but it seems like that AT-RT should be able to get up on there. I mean, it's a flat piece of terrain, it should totally, and it fits, and it was stable, and, it seemed like it made sense. So I think I've got now 5 Rebel Trooper units deployed already at the top section, with the top half of this, and AT-RT with the flamethrower, and then really on the bottom half, it's really just the Gideon, or my generic Rebel Trooper or Commander, and then the one Pathfinder unit. I still haven't deployed my other Pathfinders yet, and there's really not going to be much room for me to put them at this point. So Sean puts his commander down over at the bottom, and he's definitely, his bottom force right now, or on the right-hand side of your screen, their goal seems like it's going to be to sneak into my end zone, or to my deployment zone, and so they score those points that way. And we're still measuring because I'm looking for those Pathfinders. There's a whole lot of more measuring that goes on. So deployment becomes a lot more interesting with Pathfinders, and I think that's one of the things, the big takeaways from this whole setup. And I think 2 is going to be the default number of Pathfinders that people will run. I don't really expect there to be too many builds running 3 Pathfinders, because you've got POW and you've got Bistan, but that third unit would just have to, kind of maybe be empty. And I could see maybe if you wanted to do it just to throw them away. I'm trying out different places. Now, this is also this Pathfinder unit I'm deploying right here. This is the one that my 2-year-old son Lando painted, and I did a video about these. But it looks pretty good on the battlefield, actually. So I'm actually playing with that unit that my son painted. So there they are. They're kind of deploying in the middle, not really going too far outside of my deployment zone, but definitely outside. So range 1, Rebellious and Ambush. So I predicted that Sean would play Rebellious with Jin. I win this roll, so I actually do get to go first, which is a huge thing because I have every intention here of going ahead and trying to get Jin damaged before she could really move in and wreak too much havoc. So that's what happens. I give my order to my commander himself, so I have a much better chance of pulling from the pile and getting core. Hopefully I don't pull special forces at this point. AT-RT wouldn't be great either because it can't really do a whole lot, but I do pull core. And now the decision is going to be, well, whom do I activate? And that is really going to be the trickiest part, because I've got this unit all the way at the very top. What you can't see, and the camera kind of missed, behind the piece of terrain that's at the very, very, very top of the screen, Sean has his other Pathfinder unit. So they're at the very, very top of the screen, kind of moving in that way along the very far edge of the map. So they have line of sight on that very top unit I have on the left. I apologize for not being able to get all of those, but on a map like this where we deployed everything all over the place, it's becomes increasingly difficult to get everything without an overhead mount. And yes, so he does activate Jin, and he takes a shot at my top core unit before I'm able to activate them. Now they do get a suppression from that. They then rally, and now all of a sudden they only give 1 action. So he did really good with Jin's thing, because I was about to move and shoot, and I would have gotten in range 1. I would have had that Z6 with the crit. If I could have moved and shot, it would have been a really, really different attack. But now all I have is 1 action, since they were suppressed from Jin's shot. They lost 2 troopers since they were shot from Jin's shot, and so they had they still had a decent attack. We still got a couple of damage rolled, but Jin went ahead and did duck and cover, took a suppression, and only took, I think, 1 damage. And Danger Sense kicked in. Danger Sense was really helpful for Jin. And Pathfinders are using it quite a bit here also. So Jin is only going to take 1 damage from that whole attack with the Z6 and everything. And that's not what I was hoping for. I was hoping to, before she accumulated too much suppression, I was hoping to get one really good shot and take her halfway down at least. But only 1 damage. So now he's got to decide, well, what do I do? And trying to decide how to keep Jin alive here is tricky for him because he can definitely activate Jin. He also has HQ uplink on some other units like his sniper and then the FD turret. That's why the snipers have a token right now because they use their HQ uplink. However, the FD turret did not use its HQ uplink. So Sean's like, well, do I run with Jin? But then that kind of defeats the purpose of me deploying her so far. So I'm not sure, and that's really the thought process that's going behind this is how can I best keep Jin alive, keep Jin effective, and occupy your troops, but without wasting my entire deployment and action and command card, and so that's really, if I can screw up his whole Jin process here, then maybe I've wasted a 1-pip of his, especially a commander's 1-pip. A unique 1-pip is, it's a pretty valuable card. One of the things that go into a commander's points. So first thing he's going to do is he's going to shoot. So one of the things you're paying for when you pay that cost of an expensive commander is that you're also paying for their command cards. And that's kind of a big deal. So he's going to shoot one of my rebel troopers. I have 2 in that middle area right there where my hand is. I have 2 right next to each other. So he shoots 1 unit, then moves into base contact with the other unit. So now, his Jin is now touching a unit, so they're in melee. The other 2 rebel trooper units are suppressed and have lost Kais. So my only full strength unit that was right there, we're engaged. So I'm not going to get my frag grenade. I'm not going to get my Z6 unless I withdraw with a full strength rebel unit. And so that was a brilliant play by Sean with Jin there. And so here I'm taking a shot on his snipers before they can activate. And I think, this is with Bistan. This is with those rebel Pathfinders. They took an aim and a shot. Now, I believe there's heavy cover on those guys right there, and they did not manage to kill the sniper. I did get 1 wound through, but it was a kind of unfortunate. I did not manage to kill his sniper. So then he activates the sniper next, which, of course, makes perfect sense. And honestly, with a sniper strike team, you don't care if your one unit dies, because you're just as effective with only the sniper, which becomes the leader in a strike team. You're just as effective. So kind of a fail for the dice so far for me this game. Didn't really get any damage through, or didn't get much damage through on Jin, and didn't get enough damage through on that strike team, especially from my full strength aim and shoot Pathfinder. We were at range 4 because I had to deploy beyond range 3 with that guy, so we definitely were at range 4, so I didn't get to roll the double dice per mini, but Bistan activated and added a lot. So here he goes, he's sniping, and I think, he whiffed it too. Complete blanks, but because he didn't aim. He wanted to shoot first as his action, so this way he could move afterwards. And sometimes when you don't aim, that's what happens. You roll both blanks and you waste a sniper shot. So I was grateful for that. At least the dice were being equally cruel to all of us. So I'm going to speed things up just a little more now as we're now into the thick of it. This is where my unit engaged with Jin decides to aim and punch and gets, I think, just 1 more damage in, or maybe no more. It was just really futile. I figured black dice, okay, it's not so bad. And she's not going to be able to use Danger Sense. She's not going to be able to have any cover from this shot. So I was super excited about that, but nope. And it was a real tough choice. Do I withdraw or do I aim and punch? And here we go. I'm attacking his Bistan unit behind the barricade up at the top. His Pathfinders, he didn't assign an order to them, so he has to wait to activate them until he pulls special forces. And I'm taking advantage of that with all the rest of my rebel troopers that are up there. I do kill 2 of his Pathfinders, which is good. Now it looks like Sean's checking to see if his FD turret has line of sight, but instead he pivots and shoots, activating his generator, his barrage generator also, and goes for my Pathfinders that are deployed kind of in the middle center, bottom of the screen. And yeah, they take some damage. I think he actually gets 2 of them off there, but they do, get those extra white dice, which help because I think otherwise he probably would have just killed the whole unit in one shot because I rolled pretty bad white dice for defense at least. Now my white dice on offense are a little better. Here we are shooting the Pathfinder unit a little bit more, and now we got Bastan and the other one. So all that's left is the leader for that Pathfinder unit, which is not very much, and I'm very pleased. Now he's moving his ATRT up. He has an ATRT flamethrower. I have an ATRT flamethrower. Pretty funny that we both have the same thing. But yeah, Sean's is at the top middle, and mine is still on top of that obstacle. So now I'm activating my my other Pathfinders that are over here, kind of just off screen, or you can't see them. They're right there behind, underneath that piece of terrain. Trust me, take my word for it, they're there. And I think we're taking a shot. We're checking range because I have the FD turret or that core unit that hasn't activated yet, and I believe I went for the core unit with the long range POW. I think he activates them. He does rally, so he's able to move and shoot. So unfortunately, I was trying to shut them down with suppression, but just didn't make it happen. But they come back and they shoot me, and I'm actually surprisingly they get no damage through because danger sense is in full effect right now. I've got 3 suppression on those Pathfinders. They just put a 4th on me, so I am at risk of panicking at this point, but. It's not super easy to panic with only 4 because I'm probably going to roll at least 1 ink. Here I'm moving my ATRT down, doing a move, and what I should have done, because that piece of terrain, it's not taller than the ATRT, but it is taller than half. I think this should have been a difficult movement. And they don't have unhindered, so I should have used a 1 template instead of a 2. But I mean, it's kind of close there because I didn't do a full move anyway, so I think it would have been about the same. But we realized this after the fact. I'm like, I think I used the wrong template on that one, but it ended up not making a whole lot of difference. But just little things like that. I usually play late at night. I'm usually tired, so sometimes I will make mistakes, and you guys usually call me out on those. And here I am going for that last Pathfinder from another Rebel Trooper unit that doesn't have line of sight on anybody else. And they're just... we got them out. So the good thing there was I got that whole Rebel Pathfinder unit dead before it could activate. And that is inherently the risk you take with these new, these Pathfinders and Jinn, is you can deploy them anywhere, but if your opponent has a shot on you, it's really dangerous. So it's like you almost want to deploy them somewhere where line of sight is completely obstructed, and that's one of the things I think you kind of worry about. Do you deploy them on the objective? Do you not? It's something I think is definitely worth a lot more battles with. And so I think I think we're wrapping up. No, so Sean's doing his other Pathfinder unit. He does have one more Pathfinder unit. They're kind of at the top of the screen, or just beyond view of the top of the screen, because they're obscured by that piece of terrain that is at the very top. But he is moving them, and he is taking some shots. I believe up towards my top core unit, and he only actually got 1 through because he had to move and shoot. Well, he didn't have to move and shoot, but he wanted to. He wanted to get better dice. Because again, you have to deploy beyond range 3, and he didn't want to roll the 1 white die because we deployed all of our stuff in long range. Oh, and he went with push. I went with assault for round 2 here. So and I am activating or giving orders to both my special forces and my commander, which leaves my pile with 6 core and 1 support. So it gives me pretty good battlefield control because I know I can just activate core pretty easily at this point. But Sean does get to go first, and he's taking a shot. Who did he activate? The ATRT. That's right. He activated his 1-4 FD turret first, but I don't believe he got any damage through. So that was good. So now I'm activating a whole lot of black dice. That was me aiming and punching Jinn again with the core unit that is engaged with her. We get another damage through, but just not enough. And I'm like, this is 3 turns now of me attacking Jinn, and I've only got, I think, 2 or 3 damage on her, and she's got 6 health. It's just, it's starting to feel hopeless for me. And in comes Sean's ATRT flamethrower with a monstrous die roll against a full health rebel unit. Completely kills a full health rebel trooper unit in one shot with that flamethrower. Absolutely monstrous. So at this point, I take these other rebel troopers that are partially wounded. I have them move up into range 1 of that ATRT, and I'm rolling the red fragmentation grenades with the Z6, and I ended up getting 3 crits through. No, 4 crits through. I got 4 damage on this ATRT. Really, really nice. And I think we had it damaged. I'm trying to remember what the special ability was, or the special wound was, because I pushed it past its resilience. But yeah, it was nasty. But I don't think it mattered, because then I take this other rebel trooper unit up and I move them. They just have range 1 and line of sight on that ATRT, and they're going to do the same thing. This is where the fragmentation grenade really shines. And we're getting payback for him completely wiping out. And we do get some crits and some hits. So I'm looking at like 4 damage, boom, dead ATRT. It didn't even matter what its special resilience damage was, because we killed it. And I love being able to kill an armored unit with, with fragmentation grenades. I think they're better than impact grenades. I think they really are. Or at least, well, conditionally. Conditionally, they're better. They're definitely with, changing all those black dice to red dice can be nice, but in this case, it's that surge to crit that really, really made the difference. Absolutely love it. And so now I've got Sean actually down 2 full units, where he's got me down only 1 with my 1 rebel core that he completely eviscerated in one shot. But I do have him down a Pathfinder and an ATRT. And he didn't even get to activate the Pathfinder, so slightly looking like it's in my favor at this point, considering he's got this handicap with that FD turret that can't move. So, and so here, a big defense roll from me, which I was very pleased with. Still, he's trying to kill those Pathfinders that I have over here, just barely off, just barely out of view of the camera. But now you'll be able to see them again, because now they're moving. Again, it's only 2 guys left in that Pathfinder unit, but they are just rolling the white dice like a champ. The t-shirt save is definitely working. They got a free dodge from my commander there, and he moved a little closer to them so he could inspire, keep them from panicking. And that was, the generic commander was getting it done. He was doing everything that he needed to do. He didn't really, do a whole lot of clutch moves, but inspire worked, and handing out the dodge was part of his job. So that's what I definitely, happy to see. Oh, Sean is activating his sniper now. It is behind that tree in the top center, so you can't fully see the sniper. Again, that's the problem with one of these angled camera angles, is like you do see certain things a little nicer. It gives a better view of the terrain and the elevation and the contours and depths of the field, as opposed to straight overhead. But the drawback is sometimes things get hidden. And with my terrain, I have a lot of multi-layer terrain, so moving a core unit up towards the top right now, just trying to activate units before they die, because I think that core unit's down to 1 mini left. And here's Sean's taking his bottom core unit, making a run for my deployment zone, trying to, get those guys close enough to get victory points, because that's really the name of the game, is those victory points. And here he goes attacking my rebel trooper unit, and kind of in the middle. And now he's moving his generic commander, which is his only commander that's left now, because wait, no, he's still got Jin. Did I just spoil what's about to happen? Because I think this is the turn I do actually manage to kill Jin with that punch, and yeah. So now I'm moving my ATRT up. There's basically an arch and a piece of the terrain here. So I'm moving the ATRT. You can barely see it, but it's at the top center. It's right next to his Pathfinders. And my plan is to either scare them to get away, and to maybe move, or just get the ATRT right there so that I can kill the Pathfinders before they do anything else. And that's kind of the goal here. Now here I go activating my middle of the field Pathfinders, my paintball Pathfinders as I call them, my Bistan unit, and they're going to go ahead and take a shot on, I believe they're shooting the FD turret, which they just barely have a shot to. They do have line of sight. And we're on turn 3. Trust goes both ways, and I play the new 1 pip for the Rebels, which means that he has to activate 1 less unit. And that is really, really a big deal, because he can't just necessarily activate Jin and another unit. So he does have HQ uplink, however, but trust goes both ways. It only as to who Jin activates. So what he does is he actually activates his Pathfinders and doesn't activate or doesn't issue an order to Jin. But I expected that coming. I go first, and I do kill Jin here. So Jin is now dead. So the whole trust goes. I basically nullified the benefit of that command card because A, I made him issue one less order, which was huge, and B, teamwork with Jin doesn't matter since I just killed her. So it took me 3 full rounds of attacking Jin to finally bring her down. And it worked, and I was very, very pleased with that. But then his Pathfinders activate, and they take the shot at that unit that just killed Jin as retribution. And I was sad about that, but I was like, well, at least you went for a unit that I had already activated. And that's kind of one of the problems is like if do you want to go for somebody who's full strength because you're likely to do a lot of damage there, and I'm knocking over trees, or do you want to go for somebody who hasn't activated yet? I think tactically you go for somebody who hasn't activated yet. But that's just me, and I think especially with breakthrough, you kind of want to take out those unit leaders because the name of the game is victory points. So it's better to completely kill a unit than to have a couple of weaker units that still have a unit leader left. So I think that might have been a misplay, but like I said, it's late when a lot of times I think by this point we're pushing almost midnight. So it's. You kind of use that as an excuse, I think, sometimes to justify making a couple of little mistakes. I know I do it all the time. I make a lot of mistakes when I play in my games, and that gets illustrated because I put so many of them up online. So a lot of those mistakes get very much highlighted. But yes, all right. So this is Bistan, I think, shooting against that FD turret, which just would not die. So I put this Pathfinder Bistan in a good spot in like the middle of the map that I'd be able to just aim and shoot or recover and shoot and keep adding dice, and just ended up not working out for me. So I'm starting to feel like Pathfinders would be better just to secure an objective and then walk away. But yep, that's basically what it's looking like here. So we're just taking shots at each other. Sean's really the only one moving towards the end zone right now. But here I go with my ATRT, and I'm attacking his Pathfinder unit right here with the flamethrower. And because he did take a shot, so he didn't double move, and I have a lot of damage. And he completely rolled all blanks right here. So I did get a complete full wipe of his Pathfinders. And then at this point, we both decided we should call it, because the only units that Sean has left is his one sniper, which is about to die behind the tree, and then the 2 other units at the bottom that are about to get into my end zone. But I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units that are going to go score up on the top side, compared to his. Well, he's got 3 technically still on the board that can score, but I've got like twice that many that are all capable of scoring. So it just seemed logical to call it right here. But the big things of the game, the big takeaways were frag grenades and the Pathfinder versus Pathfinder interplay, and that was really cool. So again, this was a short form battle report. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe. Check out Crabbok.com, all that good stuff. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and have a great day.